Greetings duelist and welcome to another video. Today is going to be another weekly locals report. I went to two events this past week, one on Thursday, one on yesterday Sunday. The first event was 6 rounds and the one yesterday was 5 rounds, so a total of 11 games. I finished third place in both locals. The one on Thursday, my record was 4-1-1, and my record on Sunday was 4-1. So it was 8 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw in total. I guess I'm going to update the deck, showed what I played, showed any changes that I did compared to last week, and I'll go over the matchups. And I think I'm going to do something a little bit slightly different. I'm going to show plays or combos or lines that you can do with that strategy and the deck if you decide to pilot this same strategy, because I know there are some viewers of the channel or some viewers that watched this video that are probably wondering, like, what is the power behind this deck? Why am I playing this over anything else in the format despite it not having a significant showing? Without further ado, let's begin. Piece of Starfrost, that hasn't changed. Still playing the 9 level 3s. The 3 Reinhardt. This won't change anytime soon. 3 Fenrir. 3 Unicorn. Scareclaw, Reinhardt. That's it for the Kashtira monsters. We're still playing the Vanquish Package, Enchantress and Griffin. Still 3 planets, still 3 arrivals. I'm playing 3 Wraith Sauce now. I'll explain that in a bit. Theosis, Birth, Three Rights, Faithful, Dracoback. I dropped Talents to 2. I'm also playing. I still playing to the 2 Thrusts. Rhoda, Terraforming, Duster. A new addition to the deck now is Foolish Burial, and I'm playing Twin Saw. Extra deck, still 3 Lighthearts, 2 Trihearts, Spider, Cherubini, Dark, Unicorn, Access Code, still the Goddess, still Shangri-La, Big Eye, Reinhardt, and Baron. Side deck, still playing 3 Duels. This was really good for me this past week. It kind of won me a lot of games. Still 3 Lancias, still 3 Cosmics, still 3 Imperms, and still 3 Evenly Matched. Okay, so things to talk about. If we go to the extra deck first, I'll talk about Cherubini. I'll explain the thought process behind this, and then I'll tell you if it's a significant change or not. So past the last deck profile, I had one game where I lost because I opened multiple Scareclaw names, but I did not open neither Rayphobia or Visa Starfrost or Terraforming or the Adventure Engine or Reinhardt or like my Kashtira engine. The reason I mention all those cards is because I was weak to Nibiru, and pretty much if you don't open any of those cards, or if you don't open tactics or like thrust or talents, um, you don't have a very efficient way of making an M board that does not lose to Nibiru. Um, so playing Cherubini meant that if I opened multiple Scareclaw names where I did not open any of the aforementioned cards, I could access my adventure engine, and that would bait them actually summon Nibiru on me, or make it so I can play around the Nibiru if they don't have it, or pretty much checking the boxes so I can have the adventure engine on board alongside other extenders. Would I play this again? I will not. The card I cut originally for that was Asa, and the main reason I cut Asa was because in previous events before this past week, Asa did not come up. Um, Funnily enough, as soon as I took it out, it came up. I played against ninjas, I played against the mirror match, and I played against multiple Kashtiras, and they all had cards that I could realistically would have changed the tempo of the game if I had Asa in my extra deck. Um, Sadly, that did not happen. I did win a few of those games, but I really did miss this card. And having a contingency plan for if you don't have an optimal hand or you pseudo bricked is not worth the extra deck slot. I think just having more utility cards kinda is warranted, and you can't win against every match, like every hand trap or every card in the game. It's kind of impossible for you to play around everything with your deck. So if you just don't draw optimally, you just kind of have to accept it. Um, it's better to just try to play the best you can with your hand than to just play tech cards in your extra deck just for other avenues. Um, so that's like the one change I would do regarding to the extra deck. Um, Say deck was great. Nothing I have to say here. Like I clutched my last match of the last tournament of the last round. Thanks to Imperm. This won me my match against. This won me a game against ninjas. Like I noticed their ninjutsu arts are very important for them to resolve. So having a card that just deals with them was very important. I, funnily enough, did not use Lancia a lot, which is ironic because my main losses to this day, pretty much a lot of my losses was to a blowout card plus evenly. And it's not really the evenly that kills you, because you do have follow up for the next turn. It's the fact that they have open evenly and their engine. Because if their engine is strong, like if you exhausted have your engine for your end board and they end up breaking it, you need to make sure you have enough cards for the crackback and the follow up. Otherwise, they will blow you out with their engine optimally. The biggest issue I've been having with evenly matched is that you do play the adventure engine, which means like out of all the games I got even lead, I'd say over 80% of them involved them contesting the Griffin Rider, which meant that you lose everything on board and you stick with the token. Which is really bad because if you have, like, I'll give you an example, other set cards like evenly or other cards you want to use against your opponent to like pretty much keep playing the game, you lose all of them. So that's like one huge disadvantage of the adventure engine, and why you probably don't see it like as successful as other engines in the game at this current date. But yeah, like I pretty much arrived at a conclusion that if I have to choose against losing to Nib or losing to evenly, I'd rather just lose to Nib. Um, like I just rather lose to Nib because it means that despite me losing my board, I still have my resources and I can still play other cards, so I can like stop my opponent if I do play them or side them, etc., etc. Um, but yeah, I will keep Lancey in the side deck for now. Um, like there's a Dark World player and a Flunderies player at my locals, so this is relevant against them. Um, any deck in the game that plays for Prosperity, I will side this against. And the most important part is this avoids both the zone lock and them summoning a Rise Heart against Kashtira. They can still get to a Rise Heart under this, but they need a lot of extenders. Like they need a really optimal hand for them to do that. So 80 to 90% of the time, they will not be able to get to a Rise Heart if you Lancia them early. So like another thing to note is by the time I'm recording this, the 250th YCS has concluded. A lot of Runic has been shown a lot of success. So having a card versus Runic, like multiple cards versus Runic, is kind of important. So you kind of have to respect that strategy. Even if you don't see them around, because after these events, you will probably see them more in the future. But you know that varies from local to locals. So that's my explanation there. So Foolish Burial. I wanted more cards for my adventure engine because it's like pretty much like one of the best engines in the game. So just having another card that gets you to another copy of a card that gets you there is kind of warranted. Like between that Enchantress, right, and if you go second, Thrust that can get you the rights, you pretty much have 7 to 9 cards that will access your engine. Like so just having another card that can do that is fine. If you do open your adventure package, you do play cards that function as extenders if you dump cards to the graveyard. So like for example, just dumping any Scareclaw name and then bringing them back with a rival, it kind of works. If you open Kashtira Birth, so you can dump any Kashtira and you can bring it back with Birth, so that also is an option. Like dumping Visa Starfrost, so you can start your Scareclaw engine and then just bring back the Visa Starfrost. It's also kind of cool. But yeah, that's it for Foolish Burial. The third Raceoff, I just kind of wanted more cards for my Kashtira engine. So pretty much the same thing as Foolish, pretty much just another consistency card. I liked it. It worked well. It actually won me the Scareclaw Kashtira match because we were both at top deck war. He drolled me, and I took away his resources with the extenders that I had. So pretty much you can a top deck game. He banished one of my raid softs with the Mind Hacker, and he ashed another one, and I top decked into a Terraforming, which got me to a third copy, which got me into Fenrir, which got me into Scareclaw Kashtira, which got me into Big Eye, which got me into stealing their Shangri Era and then turning it into a Rise Heart. And yeah, it's just another consistency card. You don't have to play 3, but I chose to play a third one, and it worked out. But that's it for the changes. So matchups. My losses this week were 1 to Ninja and 1 to Flunderies. The Flunderies player He opened insane both times. I lost the die roll. First game, he resolved this entire engine, and not only that, but he main deck roll, and this deck is very weak to draw. So that's it for that. Game two, I went first. I made my entire board. I had Baron and Griffin Rider as both my negates. I had the Triheart, I had a Rice Heart, and I had the Twin Saw. His hand, his opening hand, was Map, Robina, Prosperity, Evenly Mashed, Dark Ruler, no more. And his card for turn was Duality. Yeah. I sided both Droll and Lancia and Imperm. I drew the Imperms. I did not draw the Droll or the Lancia. And the Imperms were useless because I had the Adventure token on board because of Griffin. And yeah, Evenly just says goodbye. So that's what happened there. My loss against Ninjas was very, very similar. He opened Imperm Evenly Matched, and my only negate was Baron. So he basically contested the Baron with Evenly, and then with Imperm, and then he Evenly. And the rest of his hand was, it was not that strong, but he had 2 of the 3 ninjutsu arts, and I just had no way to play around it. Game 2, I won that game thanks to Cosmic Cyclone. I let him go first, and I just contested against his cards. And the last game, it was a bit of a back and forth, but he ended up out-resourcing me, and he won the game because of that. So yeah, those were my 2 losses. My draw was against Branded. I drew against Branded, and I technically drew against Kashtira, Shadows to Glen. But my draw against Branded, game 1, it was a blowout. I summoned Tryhard. He had no outs. He had Banishment, but I played around the Banishment. I summoned the second Tryhard, and he just didn't have enough for it. Game 2, it was very awkward because he expulsioned me. And I tried to play through the expulsion because the rest of his hand was weak. He did not resolve Branded Fusion for the expulsion line. He hard opened the cards for it, which is kind of odd, but it happens. And by the moment, and he had a Banishment that he set out of the Thespian Tragedy, and I tried to play around it, but he did not let me play around it. So that's how I drew that game against Branded. Those were my games that I pretty much didn't do well against. I faced the Sprite, Traptrix, the Kashtira Mirror. I faced against all those. I faced against Labyrinth twice. It was a really, really close game. We were both top decking, and he eradicated me, and he had Skill Drain, but I had Twin Saw to contest the Skill Drain. He top decked multiple Labyrinth monster names, which was kind of bad for me because he kept having his engine on board, which means that he kept playing around the stuff that I had. But at the end, I pretty much took it. I think those the relevant games. I want to show something that people pretty much don't know when it comes to this deck. I want to show one of the reasons I really like this deck to begin with. This is something that happened against one of my Sprite opponents. We were both top decking, and he had Zeus on board. The only card in my hand was Arrival and Imperm. And I had Reichard in graveyard. I had my engine in my graveyard pretty much. I had Tryhard, multiple Scareclaw names. Like let's just dump a few of them. Like for example, like let's dump these. Let's dump the Tryhard, Ungrave. One of the Rayphobias was in graveyard, so let's dump that one. Like let's just throw that into a graveyard. Let's act as if we're still at a lone Zeus and we have these two cards in hand. These two cards in hand, and we drew for turn like a blank. Let's pretend this Griffin Raider was one of them. So this is why this deck is really good. Like I'll show you. I imprint the Zeus. I activated a rival. Our rival brought back the Reichhardt. Reichhardt triggers. With Reichhardt, I grabbed a second arrival, and this is why you play 3. I linked away the Tryhard, the Reichhardt, into Lightheart. Lightheart grabs me the second Rayphobia. I activated the Rayphobia. Rayphobia added Visa Starfrost. Visa Starfrost effect. I popped the Lightheart. Since you control Visa Starfrost, Lightheart will bring itself back from grave. You can relink the Lightheart into another copy. And I added the third copy of Rayphobia. I activated the Arrival. Arrival brought back the Reichhardt. And I made Baron. And then Baron popped the Zeus. I swung with both. And now my opponent was top decking. I have Baron the Floor as like my guaranteed negate, and I have the third planet, which acted as follow up. And if you want to know what you do after that, you activate the third planet. The planet will grab the third Reichhardt. Third Reichhardt, summon. You grab the third Arrival. Third Arrival, any name. You turn those into the second Reichhardt. The second Reichhardt will bring up another name. And then you just swing for and no decay them. Another cool thing you can do is, if you already exhausted the Baron, you put back the Baron back into your extra deck. Baron bring the Reichhardt. Reichhardt will grab the Arrival, and you can use the Rayphobia to just add another Scareclaw name. And you can summon it as another body, and then you can just start making multiple cards on board. Another thing about Scareclaw that people really overlook is people think this is just in a Tryhard deck. Like, you have a lot of utility cards that can help you link climb. Like, with the multiple costs of Arrival, with this not being once per turn, with Lightheart being able to recur itself, and relinking, you have access to both Dark and Asa as your Charmers, which summons you another name, which makes it so you can summon Unicorn and Access Code real easily. I did that to my last Sprite opponent. Like, you can also get to Underworld Goddess. Like, that's the thing about this deck, is like, people only look at Scareclaws and they only think about them playing into your Scareclaw cards. They do not see them as multiple extenders. This deck is just as good as spamming bodies on the board and amassing advantage as Sprite is. And I don't think I need to tell you how good Sprite is in the format. I mean, that deck just won a YCS. Well, it kind of won multiple ways, but it won the 250th. Um, but yeah, I just want to share some closing thoughts when it comes to the strategy. Take note that once Cyberstorm Access comes around, this engine will be even more powerful because it will be more consistent. You will be able to do more plays with it. You'll have another archetype that synergizes with Visa Starfrost. So getting access to visas will be easier. You will be able to spam more bodies on the board. You'll be able to amass more advantage. You'll be able to play other really cool tech cards like Cross Cheap, um, Elemental Hero Prisma, Hero Lives. Who knows? Maybe even the Gold Pride package could be played since you're playing life point deficit cards. Um, but yeah, it's very, very soon to tell. But I feel like there's going to be a lot of potential with this, like, moving forward. I feel like this is a strategy that is still very underlooked. I don't know if people already saw it, but there's a deck running around that plays Format Skipper that access you into this engine, and this engine is a bridge into MathMech, and it makes it so you can build a really powerful board, um, and like just pretty much like quote unquote FTK your opponent. Um, but yeah, I just figured I'd do a little bit of a TED talk about that. Um, I feel like in a very open format like this one, this is a very good strategy to like just keep playing. And yeah, I hope you guys learned something from it. Keep practicing and keep dueling.